the real founders of Elizabethan drama, who introduced grand themes, complex characters, and poetic dialogues in the English drama of Elizabethan age. A lot of people think that it's Shakespeare, but was it really him? Before Shakespeare became the bard of English literature, there was a group of brilliant playwrights who laid the foundation of English drama as we know it to be today. They were bold, they were young, they were intellectuals, and they were the University Wits. Many of their plays have influenced later literature, including Shakespeare's masterpieces. They were the first true playwrights of England. If you are preparing for your UGC NET English exam, then knowing the University Wits is a must. So in today's video, I'm going to break down who these University Wits were and what were their key works which will help you in acing this exam. So stay tuned till the end of this video and don't forget to make notes. So, who were these University Wits? The term University Wits basically refers to a group of late 16th century English playwrights. But why are they called as University Wits? They might as well be called as playwrights, right? They are called as University Wits because they were highly educated, they were highly intellectual, and they passed out from very renowned universities like Oxford and Cambridge. Some of the most important members of this group basically consisted of John Lyly, George Peele, Robert Greene, Thomas Nashe, Thomas Kate, Christopher Marlowe, and some also considered Thomas Lodge to be also one of the University Wits. Each of them brought something unique to drama, be it historical themes, poetic dialogues, or tragic intensity. They bridged the gap between medieval morality plays and the Renaissance theatre of Shakespeare. Now, it's very interesting to note that what made these University Wits as University Wits. Can you imagine Christopher Marlowe repairing shoes, mending shoes in a very rickety and almost broken down shop? No, right? Like, how can we imagine the playwright, the author of Dr. Faustus and Tamburlaine to repair shoes? Well, so didn't he himself. So what happened back then was that there was this huge gap between the amount of scholars passing out of the universities and the availability of the jobs in the market. And these group of intellectuals, they were not satisfied with the family jobs, nor were they satisfied with the available economic opportunities in the market. So they decided to go for theatre. They chose theatre because they had no other option. And when they were writing plays in their lifetime, nobody recognized them or nobody called them as University Wits. It was only in 19th century when author and journalist George Saintsbury termed them as University Wits that they were recognized later as University Wits. Having said that, let's focus on each University Wit and their key works which are frequently asked in UGC NET English exam. If there is one University Wit who has completely changed the course of English literature forever, then that is Christopher Marlowe. Christopher Marlowe was one of the youngest University Wits. Also fondly called as Kit Marlowe, he is popularly known for including blank verse in his plays, especially in his powerful soliloquies, which later influenced William Shakespeare as well. One of the best parts of his plays is his complex characters. His characters are obsessed with some or the other thing like power, wealth, knowledge, and that leads to extreme forms of tragedy, physical violence, cruelty, and even bloodshed. One of his most critically acclaimed plays that is often asked in UGC NET English exam is Dr. Faustus. It is a tragedy based on the German character of Faust. So what happens in the play is that you have this protagonist, Dr. Faustus, who is a great scholar from the University of Wittenberg. But despite being this renowned scholar, he is tired of this traditional knowledge system based on medicine, law, and theology. And he wants more. He yearns for more, and he wants to learn about the secrets of universe, and he wants to learn about the forbidden acts of magic. So what does he do for that? He basically strikes a deal with Mephistopheles, a demon, by summoning him. And he makes this deal that in 24 years, he's going to gain all the knowledge, everything that he wanted about universe in exchange for his soul. And that happens in the course of 24 years. So in this course of 24 years, what happens is that he engages in petty acts of mischief, he summons historical figures like Helen of Troy, he indulges in pleasure, and he travels to various places and all of that. But as and when his time comes to an end, as and when that 24-year clock is coming to an end, he is feeling that remorse. And when finally Mephistopheles is taking him to hell, he is crying out to God, he's crying out for mercy, but then at the end he is condemned to hell. The best part about this entire play is the obsession that you see in Dr. Faustus, the obsession to gain more knowledge. This element of obsession, you see it in other characters of Christopher Marlowe's, right? You see it in Tamburlaine, you see it in G of Malta, you see it in Edward II. And Edward II, interestingly, was that historical play which also influenced William Shakespeare's historical plays as well. The next important university wit that we are going to discuss in this video is Thomas Kidd. Interestingly, there is no evidence that Thomas Kidd attended Oxford University or a Cambridge University. We just know that he attended some merchant tailor's school. But despite this, he is considered to be one of the most prominent university wits today, very popular for his play The Spanish Tragedy, which was first performed in 1592 by Lord Strange's Men. It is a revenge tragedy which was initially just titled as Hieronimo after the protagonist. The play begins with the arrival of two ghosts. First is the ghost of Don Andrea, and second is this symbolical ghost of revenge. Now, to give you a bit of a background of Don Andrea, who was Don Andrea? He was basically a Spanish nobleman who was killed in a battle with Portugal. He was in love with Belimperia and they had a secret love affair, because of which he was killed by Balthasar, the son of the viceroy of Portugal. Later in the course of this entire play, you see Belimperia who is grieving for Don Andrea's death. Then you see that she is vowing, she is promising to avenge his death. And then for a short while, she is in a relationship with Horatio. Then in the later part of the play, you see the murder of Horatio. You see the manipulation of Hieronimo, the tragic deaths of Belimperia and Balthasar, and the self-inflicted deaths of Hieronimo and the Duke of Castile. And if you look at the plot very carefully of the Spanish tragedy, especially if you understand that the play begins with the arrival of the ghost, the narrative moves forward with someone avenging someone else's death, and it ends with almost everyone's deaths. Don't you think that it's familiar to another famous tragedy in English literature? William Shakespeare's Hamlet is said to have been influenced by Thomas Kidd's The Spanish Tragedy. The next important university wit that we are going to discuss in this video is John Lyly. John Lyly was a courtier, a playwright, a poet, and even a parliamentarian. He is best known as the father of English comedy and is most popularly known for his work Euphues, The Anatomy of Wit, and its sequel Euphues and His England. Now, the story of Euphues is quite simple. It is basically centered around this protagonist called as Euphues, who is a young Athenian, and he arrives in Naples. When he arrives in Naples, he befriends Philautus, who is actually engaged to this girl called as Lucilla. When Lucilla and Euphues meet for the first time, Euphues instantly falls in love with her, which creates this sort of weird love triangle and also disrupts this friendship between Philautus and Euphues. In the sequel, that is Euphues and his England, we see how Euphues is trying to reconcile his friendship with Faustus, tries to befriend him again. The best and the most interesting part about Euphues and its sequel is the language. The way Lyly has written. It is written in a very ornate language, in a very decorative prose language, including a lot of classical references, literary devices like alliteration, antithesis, and rhetorical questions. It has become so characteristic and so distinctive a style of its own that it has its own name called as Euphuism. And Euphuism in itself has had a great impact on Elizabethan language. You might find thousands of critiques praising Shakespeare, but only a few criticizing him after his death, and perhaps only one who criticized him when he was alive. And that is none other than the University Wit, Robert Greene. He's best known for his pamphlet, Greene's Groat's Worth of Wit, Bought with a Million of Repentance, in which he criticized Shakespeare, calling him an upstart crow beautified with our feathers. He is also known for his romance Pandosto, which is said to have inspired Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale. Robert Greene is also popularly known for writing one of the earliest comedies, which is Friar Bacon and Friar Bungay. One of the most distinctive characteristics of this play is its multiple plot structure. So what happens in this play is that you have Friar Bacon, who is a renowned scholar, and he wants to create a talking head. And so along with his assistant Friar Bungay, they put hours and hours of their work, they monitor the project, and they are working tirelessly for the head to talk. Do you think the head actually talks towards the end? Let me know in the comments section below. The penultimate university wit that we are going to discuss in this video is also one of the earliest English novelists, and that is Thomas Nashe. Thomas Nashe was educated at Cambridge, and he is also known for his biting satire, his humor, something that you can see in his early works like Penniless Peers, which was actually a satire focused on the 7 deadly sins. But nothing can match his most distinctive work, which is his novel titled as The Unfortunate Traveller, or The Life of Jack Wilton, which was first published in 1594. Set in the reign of Henry VIII of England, it is a picaresque novel, which means that you will have this rogue as its protagonist who would find himself in different adventures, and it's an episodic narrative where different episodes, they are loosely connected with each other without any concrete connection or coherence for that matter. In this particular novel, the rogue is Jack Wilton, and he finds himself in different political schemes, moral dilemmas, historical events, especially in the 16th century Europe. And finally, the last university wit that we are going to discuss in this video is George Peele. He is one of the most versatile of Elizabethan writers. He has experimented with so many theatrical forms, including a folk play, a pastoral, a tragedy, a historical play, a melodrama, and whatnot. One of the most interesting things that I find about him is that George Peele is rumored to have collaborated with Shakespeare on one of Shakespeare's plays. Can you guess which one? Drop your comments in the comment section below. Apart from this, George Peele is famously known for his play The Arraignment of Paris, which was performed by the children of the Chapel Royal before Queen Elizabeth herself, somewhere around 1581. The entire plot of the play basically reimagines and retells the story of Judgment of Paris, but there's a twist over here. What is this twist? So this play begins with Jupiter questioning Paris as to whom should he give the golden apple to out of the 3 goddesses. Should he give to Venus, Pallas, or Juno? Now, Paris decides that the golden apple should be given to Venus, but the final decision rested with Diana, who gives the golden apple to none of the competitors but to a nymph called as Eliza, which was a clear reference to Queen Elizabeth I. So this is how George Peele is basically blending the classical themes with the Renaissance ideals, making it not just a mythological story but also a political allegory. That is why this play becomes one of the most essential reads for UGC NET English exam. These are the University Wits and their works that you can take into consideration, especially for your UGC NET English exam. Apart from these, there are so many other crucial literary movements and literary circles that are very important for you to understand, like Bloomsbury Group, Harlem Renaissance, the Beat Generation. At the same time, you can take into consideration the aesthetic movement as well. So you can consider these literary circles and movements for your exam preparation as well. If you want to know about them in detail, know who the writers are and what were their key works in detail, then you can join my live UGC NET English literature classes. In my live classes, I am providing a detailed breakdown of the history of British literature and Indian English literature in a very comprehensive manner, followed by a detailed discussion on each and every author, minor as well as major, and their works, which will help you in tackling the chronology based questions. Not just that, but I'm also simplifying all the complex literary theories starting from structuralism down to eco-criticism and queer theory in a very easy to understand manner. I'm also breaking down the complex concepts provided by these literary theorists, which will help you in gaining the confidence to ace UGC NET English exam. The best part about these sessions that these are live one-on-one sessions, which means that I can provide you personalized guidance tailored to your needs, requirements and schedule, trying to fill the possible gaps in your UGC NET English exam preparation. If you want to know more about the kind of courses I offer, the sessions I take and the notes I provide, feel free to check out my TopMate page. It's topmate.io/Riya Gandhi. I've shared the link in the description box below, so don't forget to check it out. That's it for today's video, folks. If you found this video on University Wits informative and helpful, please like it and share it with other UGC NET English aspirants as well. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any videos that I will be uploading on UGC NET English exam in the future. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next one.